In this video, we're going to talk about the history of the Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor, the best-selling, greatest hit, high-end compressor of the modern era. I'm also going to introduce you to the Providence Edition of the Mastering Compressor, and you'll see how our collaboration with Shadow Hills has brought the original design back to life. I'm Jeff with Providence Sound and Vision, and my story about the Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor starts in 2004. 1 year after I started Infrasonic Sound Recording Company with my former business partner, Pete Lyman. Pete and I met Shadow Hills founder Peter Reardon when he was posting pictures of his custom-made monitor controllers on the audio forums. At the time, Peter Reardon was engineering for artists like Ben Vaughn and producer Danger Mouse, and the audio equipment available at the time was not meeting Peter's sound quality goals. So he started to build his own equipment, starting with his own monitoring controller. He built a handful for himself and the artists he was working with. In 2004, Pete Lyman's mastering career was rapidly expanding, and he was in need of a high-quality monitoring system and router for working with both digital and vinyl. We reached out to Peter Reardon, who was building this super cool, mysterious equipment that looked like it was from the 1940s. While meeting with Peter Reardon about his monitoring controllers, he shared a prototype of a VCA bus compressor engineered to have a full Class A discrete signal path and transformer balanced ins and outs. It was a straightforward compressor with only one set of stereo controls and 2 rack spaces. Peter offered to build one for us, and we gave him $2,000 to get started. Before Infrasonic had a dedicated mastering studio, we used the recording studio control room for tracking, mixing, and mastering. $2,000 was a lot for us to spend after maxing out our credit cards to build and equip the new studio, but we figured this compressor could be used on every tracking, mixing, and mastering session, and we get a lot of mileage out of it. A few days later, Peter called me to ask if I had heard the Smart C2 compressor in dual mono instead of using the stereo gain control. I had. It was a trick we both loved about the Smart C2. All the pots have detents, so you can easily match both channels and run dual mono instead of stereo. When you have a well-balanced mix and you do this, the stereo image gets about 15 degrees wider. Next thing we knew, the new Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor would have 2 sets of controls, all on step switches for perfect matching and recall. The Shadow Hills is in no way a clone of the C2, but this flexibility and functionality was a great feature to learn from. We thought our new compressor was well underway, and Peter called again. He was excited about a different optical style of compressor he had been working on that was very smooth and rhythmic. We spoke about how for mastering or even pop vocals, excellent compression results are achieved when you run a few compressors in series, each doing a little bit rather than one compressor pumping a lot of gain reduction. By using multiple compressors in series, there are fewer compression artifacts, and the varying attack and release times gives the engineer more flexibility in carving the compression into the song. The next thing you know, the Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor now had an optical compressor into a discrete VCA. This would no longer fit into a 2RU chassis, and Peter wanted to use the largest meters and Bakelite knobs possible, so the mastering compressor grew from 2RU to 5RU with an external power supply. Weeks passed and Peter called me very excited. I just found a batch of 2,000 Magic Eye tubes from World War II. They open and close like an eye, and I can wire them to be signal indicators for the compressor. Sold. More time passed and Peter called again. Jeff, can I come by the studio? I have something to show you. We were excited. We thought it was going to be our new compressor, but the compressor was not yet in its final form. What Peter brought over was his Gamma mic preamp design, wired into a steel ammo box. What was extra special about the mic pre-design was the ability to switch between 3 transformers for 3 distinct tones. Iron for the gluey, larger-than-life 1970s British sound, steel for the forward, punchy American sound, and nickel, which is a more hi-fi and open top end, as heard in the API console that was commissioned by Frank DiMidio for Sunset Sound. Peter thought, why don't we include this transformer switching into the mastering compressor? Why not? More is more. After a year on the drawing board, the Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor was nearly done. But there was one more feature Pete Lyman wanted that was not found on many hardware compressors: a high-pass filter sidechain, so that the low end does not trigger the compression detection circuit. This effect leads to a bigger sounding low end and less pumping when the kick drum hits. Peter agreed this was a great feature to include, and the design of the Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor was complete. Now, here we are over 20 years after the launch of the original Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor, and we are very proud to introduce the Providence Edition Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor. This edition is more than just an aesthetic departure from the classic black on black. It recreates the original design. While most of the mastering compressors in the world use a Class AB signal path, this edition is fully Class A, just like serial number 1. The Providence Edition also utilizes a Lundahl input transformer for a smoother, more hi-fi sound when compared to the Jensen transformers deployed in most mastering compressors. The high-pass sidechain is still a part of our edition, but since most users report they leave it on all the time, we have moved the switch to the rear panel, and with the newly found space on the front panel, we have included a bypassable insert, allowing you to insert any piece of audio equipment between the optical and BCA compressors. You can also use this switch to separate the compressors and use them independently with their own ins and outs. This one feature opens up the Swiss Army knife possibilities for mastering or mix bus and makes the mastering compressor more flexible when used for tracking sessions. The Providence Edition comes with a matching power supply, and every unit includes a personalized serial number nameplate showing it was commissioned by the owner. We have not yet set a cap for this limited edition, but it will be in the tens of units ever made, likely no more than 50. If you would like to demo the Providence Edition mastering compressor, you're welcome to visit our Los Angeles Gear Gallery, where we have one on display, and stay tuned for more content including sound samples. If you would like to reserve your own Providence Edition Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor, please DM us or visit our website provsb.com for more information. Once again, thanks for watching. Jeff here from Providence Sound and Vision, where we live to help you sound your best.